moving to oneness. Nourishing curiosity. Embracing differences. Becoming one.
Today, two wonderful beings are here just for you so you can become more courageous, more comfortable, at ease of being a little bit more who you are on this beautiful earth. Hello everyone, I'm Meilin Ehlke, your host of the Moving to Oneness podcast. And I have a wonderful guest sitting with me in Chicago, Illinois. Hello, Sopheia. Wonderful to have you on Moving to
Thank
Oneness.
you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and I definitely love your title, Moving into Oneness.
Yeah, because it's so important, right? I think we're all looking for this to first of all to move into ourselves, to understand who we are. Also for me to understand who I am, for you probably who you are, and then who are we as a collective, as the human beings on this planet. And too often I think there is not enough discourse where we can even talk about this freely, without judgment, without being looked at. And nowadays, I think the energies are right, and we have so much support from other beings and the star nations, the plants, to understand more of how we function, how we can, in a way, dictate our life or what we want to create. Also, of what parts I want to live that you want to live, right? And crystallize that out. And I sense there is now also strong support from others and the ears of others to listen, so we can go on this journey inward to understand ourselves better, but at the same time on the journey to understand others better, because through others, right, then I see myself again different. If I'm all alone, encapsulated, which we're not supposed to be, it's very, I think, a little sad. Too many people are so much alone, not in community, not with friends or family. So something like Zoom now helps. So we're not so much alone. But this beautiful discourse to understand how I'm seen, right? Because I think other people don't see us so often with such judgment as we have a judgment here in our head. What do you think, Sophia?
I totally agree. I think a lot of times we can, have that judgment, that self-critic that, kind of chatters in our ear, and we can give in to listening, and then to judge ourselves in a way that says, maybe I'm a failure, or I'm this, or I'm not enough, and to, instead of really just recognize as a whole that we have oneness, and we can have oneness and alignment within ourselves, and oneness and alignment with our creator, God, universe, whatever we call our higher power.
You're so right. And you come to it with a lot of love. What I like so much about you, Sophia, you always smile. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always seen you smile, and the smile goes from your mouth over all your muscles of your face and your eyes, and I think out of your body it radiates. So how come you're so happy? Or how come you're radiating out that that smile, that love?
I think it's because I have discovered, what's my purpose and what's my reason for being.
Mm.
Um, I think that once I started my journey of transformation and change and self mastery, and I discovered like this is what I meant to be doing, then that was a way that just kind of brought me to that place of happiness, where I'm enjoying the journey, not just the destination of where I ultimately want to be.
Ooh, yeah. So what made you start the journey?
Well, my journey started with, I'm from Jamaica. And so I came to the US. And when I came, I was like early teenage years and I started experiencing struggling with my weight. And so that consistently continued on into my adult years. I felt like the swan in the ugly duckling story, just really desperate to master my life. I kept going around the mountain and I thought I was moving forward, but I really wasn't. I was kind of staying stagnant in the same place. And so for me, I would start a journey like every year. My New Year's resolution was always the same, to lose weight and get healthy.
Mhm.
So for 3 months out of the year, I would do some kind of fasting, cleanse, dieting program, centering myself, and all these other things. And I would lose 50 pounds. But then by the end of the year, I would go back. I would have gained back all the weight and, some extra with it. And so that became very frustrating for me. I was like, this is not working. And I said, I have to figure out a way to get up and over the mountain. So at one point, I decided that I would sign up for weight loss surgery. And so 6 months into waiting for my weight loss surgery date, I didn't receive one. And I was so frustrated. I was just like, if I had started one of my programs, I could have been further along by now. And so I was just so, so upset, so frustrated. I sat down to meditate. And then I read a quote. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou would prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prosper. And so for the first
Mm.
time, the word soul spoke to me. And I started asking myself, what's my soul's prosperity? How can I prosper my soul? And how can it actually help me to have the physical transformation that I've been, just looking for, searching for, hungering for, trying to reach, but not being able to get there. And so when I sat down and I started asking those questions, I went on to discover my soul's prosperity with, wrapped in self mastery. So that's why I teach the art of self mastery to people who want to live to their highest potential. They want to be who they want to be. They want to be able to experience, life of success and fulfillment and really be able to, live life on their own terms and be the drivers of their destiny. Because that's what I wanted to do for myself. And so that's been my transformation. I was able to go on to lose 100 pounds. And so I was just like, everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to know the secret of what it takes to really move your life forward, to be that successful person and live to your highest potential.
Yeah, I love the word prosperity.
Yeah.
It is so it's it is a word that carries excitement.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
doesn't it? And
Yeah.
sometimes I think that even the word purpose is like a potential. It has so much weight,
Mhm.
but that other it doesn't. I like that. It creates joy when you say it.
Yes, yes. I mean, definitely. And I think that was the whole part of, once I started really deep diving into my soul's prosperity and really be able to understand my own story, understand my why, understand so many different things about myself, align myself with, what I'm thinking, what I'm believing, what I'm feeling, and then being able to just align myself in that oneness, coming into that oneness with Creator, I was able to transform myself, and really, it took time, energy, effort, and consistency in order to be able to reach the goal of losing 100 pounds. But the journey itself was so transforming that it was like energizing. So that's part of my reason for smiling. I discovered my purpose of what I needed to do or what I can bring to the planet and really share with people about the being their authentic self and really stepping into being who they've always known themselves to be.
I like that. And I'm really curious. Could you share why did you not change at the beginning when you started? Can you explain a little bit the difference of the feeling before? I mean, you did lose weight because you did do um, probably eating less or changing the nutrition, what you were cooking or what you were making, right?
Right.
But what happened that it didn't work? Is that what happened within the body? And why did it function then later, do you think, when you found or you started your journey?
Okay. So this is my belief. And so here is some stats where studies have shown that 95% of our lives is lived in the autopilot, the subconscious mind, that comfort zone area, and only 5% of our lives is lived consciously. And I think that what I was doing, I didn't know that information at the time. So that's part of why I kept repeating. Because when we think about like a pie, for instance, and you remove 5% of it, that's that 5% that says, I want to lose weight, I want to get healthy. That's the 5% that will employ some willpower, will lower our calories, we'll, do exercise and everything like that. And then we'll achieve some form of goal. Because we're on the journey, something is happening and something will happen. The reason why I went back is because that 95% was actually set to a particular embodiment, so to speak. It was already, I had a pre-program, and because I didn't change the pre-program to cause it to support the 5% of what I wanted, I always went back to the set point. And so, it's sort of like an airplane, when they have the autopilot set. If it's set to go to France, then it's set to go to France. And even if it goes off course and does something, different, we have turbulence, you get some wind gusts and different things like that. It goes off course, but then it always brings it back to where that way it gets to the destination. And so I didn't change my destination. I didn't change the program or anything. I just kind of did some things with sheer force and willpower, and get into, losing some weight. But I always went back. And that happened for years and years and years. That happened. That was always my New Year's resolution. And I was like, wait a minute. It needs to be different. I need to find a way. So when I tried to do the gastric bypass surgery, for the weight loss, then that was going to be my way to like change the trajectory. I was looking outside of myself for a solution that I needed to find inward. And so we're always looking out there, because exercise is outside, diet and all of those things happens outside, but it doesn't happen in the mind. And I think that is what we have to really check. We have to check what's going on in the mind. We have to really look at our heart beliefs and what our values are, and then have those things that really dictate movement in life to be in support of what we really want to achieve. And I think that was the difference. So once I was able to do the inner work, to really try understand myself and where I'm coming from, what I'm believing. And, by the way, it's like, I understand that it wasn't even my fault, because we're pre-programmed from birth, to live a particular way, and the environment influenced us as well, in school and all of those things. So I got all these programming that I needed to change. And that's part of the way we can get our the 95%, that subconscious mind, to support the 5% of what we want, is that we have to really input our own self beliefs, like what we believe in, what we really want, what matters most to us, what values do we hold. All of that is a whole inner work that we have to do in order to move ourselves forward and really live the life that we want to live.
Really interesting. So it is, yeah, you're so right. Often, we know what to do,
Hmm.
but we can't. It's the
Yes.
body just doesn't follow it. And I was thinking, you said probably a few times the intention to align, and you tried from different angles or different uh, um, directions. Let's stay for a second with the diet, right? Maybe different diets each year.
Yes. Hmm.
But the way we've programmed how we grew up, everything, the foods that nourish ourselves, that make us feel safe, or that maybe our mothers cooked,
Right.
that were cultural, right? Even
Yes.
cultural, we eat so different. So you can't
Yes.
even, so it's this or that. And so one starts, and it also, I think, right, it takes time. And
Yes.
it's probably you did start changing a lot of things, but you don't notice it. So sometimes it is, I just observing myself, I went through that too, because sometimes I take on weight when there are a lot of energies out there. There have been a few years where this happened. And this year, I would say, or last year, again, I take on a lot of energies and I put it onto my body. And then there's, what you should do. You should eat this to do this kind of sport. But I always believe suddenly there is the right moment. If you set the intention and desire this alignment where all the puzzle pieces fit, and then it goes like on automatic. And I'm still, maybe we can talk about that, uh, interested, right? What is that suddenly, that shift, or when do we sense, oh, now it's safe to go back into that mode, or maybe a trauma had to be healed. That's why those phases had been too, even for me, where I ate a lot of
Right.
cakes. But the cake, or whatever, the experience while eating it, brought certain thoughts up, a certain awareness, where we had to look at it, or I had to look at it, and I could then shift it or transform or acknowledge it. Often we just need an acknowledgement, but it has to come out of our body and up. So then I suddenly, the body starts automatically, and I'm still not close. Why and when this happens is suddenly it craves certain things. Then you go into a store and you buy different foods. You eat different, or you eat less at different times. That's often an impact. You switch your rhythm when you eat. Your environment switches also with you. Suddenly they change, and it becomes easier for you to do what you wanted to do anyway, or what I wanted to do anyway. So it's, oh, now I can do it with ease without, cooking 3 times, because they're also demanding this at the moment. So there are many different reasons. So that's why, what do you think was then the ignition in that year, where you decided to even do the meditation, that you could get to that point of meditation, to get that acknowledgement, oh, that's what I'm here to do. And now let me get my body fit, and the environment supports me now in living my purpose.
Well, I think that what happened for me is because I was always meditating. See, I am a person that I always wanted to change. It
Mm.
wasn't that I didn't want to change. I was literally, trying to find different avenues to really change my life. And I think that I studied natural health medicine. I became a natural health practitioner. So I would learn about healthy foods and different ways and, herbal therapies and all of these things that would support me losing the weight. But I think that, I had to really do some inner, self-discovery of my own and really, recognize that I have choices and that I can make a
Yeah, that's an
decision.
important point. I love
Yeah.
that. That's it.
Yeah,
Go on.
make the choice that I can do this. What I had to change too is that I would do 3 months out of the year. I had to recognize that this was an ongoing process. And so however long it took, then that's what we were going to do in order to reach our goal. Even though we had to be flexible with the plan, sometimes we had setbacks, we went backwards, we went forward, but we still stayed on that journey and really still see that goal. And so I think it's a lot that there's a lot of different things that has to go on, but the choice, recognizing that you have a choice and how to then navigate the choice into making a decision and then walking it out. Because sometimes we have the head knowledge, but we don't have the heart belief to move us in that direction.
Mhm.
We have to be able to believe in ourselves that this is something that I can actually do, that
And
I
feel
can
safe. Yeah.
actually, yeah, be able to lose the weight and keep it off. And then really start changing our self image of how we see ourselves. And then, stepping into that like rhythmically every day, it's ongoing. And so it's never, a one and done, which was what I was doing before. I would do 3 months. Okay. I achieved something. This is good. And then I would start what I call the party. One of the things about eating is that one time I was sitting down, I had this thing where when I would get stressed, and at first I didn't even know that I was an emotional eater. So I had to realize so many different things about myself and become aware. So I would eat, I would have things happen and I would buy myself a brownie pie and I would sit down and I would eat my brownie pie. And so one day I'm like, just processing myself. And I would say that I heard the voice of God say to me, you know why you eat sweet things? And I was just like, no, and then he says, it's because you want people to be sweet to you. And
Ooh.
I was like, oh my gosh, like it made so much sense that, every time that I wasn't really having that sweetness being given to me, then I would reach for it in another way. And, I still enjoy sweet things, but I don't eat the whole brownie pie like I used to, because I was able to give that to myself, that sweetness, that forming that self-love. And this is one of the things that I talk about is that in our self-discovery process, it's just like me meeting you and you meeting me. And we want to get to know each other.
Yeah.
We want to talk to each other. And the more we get to know each other, the more we say we like each other. And the more it's like, oh my goodness, I really love her. She is like a great person and everything. And in self-discovery, when we take that on ourselves, we experience the same thing. When we get to know our own abilities, when we get to know our own capabilities, are the more amazing things that we can do and that we've actually done, then we get to love ourselves even the more. And I think love is our superpower. And that's the thing that goes across. It's the thing that we want the most in life, and it's also the superpower that we have that we can give to ourselves and then give to others. So that's where I started being sweet to myself, and taking more care of me, with practicing compassion and kindness and empathy for myself, so that way I could be able to be in the position to actually be able to give that to others as well. So that was this whole journey for me. And when I realized and learned that I was doing this, eating these lots of sweet things because I wanted sweetness in my life, when I was able to give that to myself, then I was able to transform. I was able to let it go. So I didn't have to eat it in order to get it. I could just give it to myself. So I have two personas. I have big girl Sophia and baby girl Sophia. And whenever I start experiencing some emotions, big girl Sophia says, hold on, what's going on? What do we need to do right now? What do we need right now? And so I take that time to process myself and go through that process and nurture myself where, and you do that too with self-care. And so I would tell people that self-love and self-care are not the same thing, but self-care is born from self-love. And the reason why I say that
Oh, I like
is
that
that
sentence.
when we're able to give that compassion to ourselves, when we are able to treat ourselves like our own best friend and not like an enemy, when we're able to nurture our and be empathetic, have that empathy within ourselves, about what we've been going through, then we're able to, transform ourselves. And yeah, then we can give ourselves the physical aspects of, exercising, eating right, taking walks, doing those kind of things that are self-care things, spending some times in nature and all of those things. Those are self-care things, but really we have to do the inner aspect of it first. So that way we can get to that. So I
Mhm.
believe that it's born from love, from self-love, and that it and self-love is not the same thing.
Really, I like that a lot. The, you have that heart behind you painted a big one, and I always see you wearing red. So love is oozing out, as I said before. And yes, it is looking at ourselves in a new way, in
Yeah.
a loving way. And that's not so easy if you were, for example, looked at harshly
Mhm.
in life. I
Yes.
also love what you said about the sweetness when you eat, that you want to be treated sweet. Everyone wants to be loved. That's also what I believe. Deep down, this is what feeds everything. Everyone maybe expresses it in a different way. And to take the time to discover how to love ourselves is not so easy, you're right, but it is possible. We
Yes.
have to start slow. It is a slow unfolding or opening up the heart, opening up your eyes, opening up your ears, trusting your own thoughts a little bit more, trusting the people more around you, right? Learning more about yourself. It is a whole a journey. And there I even liked when you were saying to, I had an image when you were speaking, like we zoom out and from above, I don't know, like 10,000 feet, and then see all, look at our life, because it's not one single thing, but
Right.
we can do tiny shifts.
Yes.
Wherever you can shift something, or wherever I can, or wherever we can shift something together, or try something out, I should say, or experience a newness, or walk in a new way, dance in a new way, eat in a new way, right? Try a different restaurant.
Mhm.
Uh, Express yourself in a new way, using new vocabulary, right?
Yes.
All these ways.
Yes.
And then when you see that all this, it's like a huge puzzle, and then you can zoom back in.
Right.
And this in and out, I think, is then very rhythmic. And we're people that are not static, right? We're very flexible. And we've been trained to be static and tight. And when you let yourself or allow yourself more to go into movement and try out things and do choices, as you said so beautifully. And if it's the wrong choice, it's okay. I mean, there's no
Right.
wrong choice. You just notice, oh, this is not the choice that suits me or that I want to pursue. You choose
Right.
something new.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
it created experiences. Um, yeah, and that to feel safe to open up so you can do this self-care, taking the time for yourself, that
Right.
is difficult. That means you have to practice maybe doing other things or being with more other people, where you pull back a little bit for yourself, or you switch the things you do with other people. So let's say maybe you have done always what they said and you
Yes.
agreed, so you can be in where you say, oh, do I really like that? Do I have fun when I do it? And become courageous and say, and you choose, guys, I like what you do, but I really would love, maybe we could do this, and to become open to speak out. And I think that is maybe at the end the biggest shift, to becoming comfortable in saying yes to yourself.
Yes, yes. It's really about prioritizing and giving yourself that gift of permission to say what you want and need. And so that was like one of the important things that I had to do for myself, to really recognize that I'm not in agreement with certain things. I don't really want that. And to identify what I wanted and then be able to step out and do it. So I have this story. For years, I would pass by this nature preserve, and I would say, every time I would drive by, I said, one day I'm going to go over there and go for a walk. And it was all, foresty and everything like that. And there was a little parking lot. And I was just like, okay. And then I started telling people that, I was thinking about going over there for a walk. And they started saying, oh, well, that could be scary, and this could happen, and that could happen, and the other could happen, and everything. But what I discovered on my self-discovery journey, that I had so much emotions that were just like exploding out of me. I eventually had to make myself get up and get dressed and go for a walk. And so I started going for a walk in this forest preserve, and I would walk 4 miles. Just in nature. And the discovery was also that I started talking to myself. I would talk to myself, I talked to God, I talked to air, and I just started this conversation because it really helped me to process what I wanted, who I wanted to be, and how I wanted to show up in the world. And so that has been, ever since I started that, I haven't stopped. Even when it's really cold and it's 20 degrees or it's some other degrees, I still go for these walks. And it's almost like now it's like I have to, because I'm like, oh, I need a moment to decompress and get myself together. And I always come away from it really refreshed, feeling rejuvenated, and feel like, I've been heard, I've been able to speak. And I think that was the permission that I needed to give myself, to be able to be with myself and to, develop. And I love being with people. I like, interacting and giving love and receiving love and sharing and all of those things. But I really also do enjoy having these moments to myself where I get to be with me, because I love me too.
I love that. Yeah, so right, because there was a strong call, and it's really interesting. So you heard that you didn't act, and when you were ready to really act on the call, you went to the nature preserve. And nature is so nice, right? It calms us, it provides an ear, it
Yes.
changes our energy, right? It balances and harmonizes us. And what also came, you were saying that you started talking, and I learned from a Kurosawa. She passed on, but a beautiful woman. But I remember an exercise she did with us, where we were doing partner work, and she said, speak about something for 20 minutes, and the other person just listen, not even talk or and yes and yeah, or really to just be present, but not to show too much of how we agree or disagree. What I learned that day, because it was really fascinating to observe the lady I was with. She started talking, and it was a rather a grief, I thought, a topic she was speaking about. But she spoke her way through. She gave her own. She gave first voice to her fears. She answered and gave herself ideas. And at the end, she did her own healing. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to give her the space and be present, so she could feel safe to go through these emotions. And often I believe nature is the same way. It provides this same feeling of safety, of feeling embraced, of being held, so we can go through this. Not everyone,
Yes.
if I mean, in the woods, it's extreme, right? You have so many plants and the earth. But maybe even if you have a garden, or you have a balcony, or you have a park, if you live in the sea, or a beach, or a pond, wherever, where you can just take time for yourself, or have a good friend and tell them, can you go with me through this? Just be there, don't answer. Or even your partner, and explore your own way of discovering yourself, or do it like Sophia. I love that. Nature, anyway, I'm the biggest fan, because we're in communion, we're not alone, we're beings that are never alone. And in these woods, you feel, um, you don't feel, you recognize that you are surrounded by everything existing. And this is a very comforting, and in a way also strengthening feeling.
Yes, yes. I mean, I have, I vent all my emotions, because that was part of the thing too that was, keeping me stuck in the loop, is that I wouldn't, vent myself. I didn't seem like I didn't create that space for me to say what I was feeling, what was hurting me, or what was giving me joy. And so now I get to go out into the woods, and I mean, I just love it. I put on my headphones, I act like I'm talking to, on my phone or something, but I just love it when I'm able to express myself, and I process my day, and I said, this is what I enjoyed, or this feeling came up and I'm not sure what this is. And just like you said, is like you talk your way through it, and then you come up with the answer, and then you perform your whole healing, and get the solution for, for moving forward, and everything like that. So yeah, that is like, one of the most joyous time that I can experience, where I'm centering myself, and being in that oneness, with nature, and with myself, and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think too often we really think we're alone, and
Mhm.
many of us are alone. But going outdoors, getting out of the square room,
Mhm.
apartment, or house, and then you don't feel so alone and sad. So if you have the strength to get up, to break your own rhythm, and maybe start and look, maybe there are other people that start walking or going somewhere in the park, or tell a friend, can you call me once a week and just tell me you want, let's say, Susie, you wanted to go for a walk, today is the day, go do it, right?
Right.
Build up a support team, accountability partner. It is a lot of people like that. um, Maybe an animal, something, right, where you, that pulls you outside, and you don't have to get one yourself, but you can go, a animal shelter, right? There are dogs that need to be walked. So if you want to have something additional because you want to do something good at the same time, so two things at one. And also, when we do walk, our brain functions differently, right? That's a good way of processing things. So that's also a
Yes.
support.
Yes.
Wow, Sophia. So you have a lot. I bet this is a topic we could talk for hours, because you changed in all parts of life, and
Yes.
you just shared a few. But the one, the weight was in a way your a stepping stone, where you
Yes.
said something has to happen because of this. And that started your journey, but it encumbrances everything, right? It,
Yes.
as you said so beautifully, the oneness, we come with a rest, nourishing ourselves, nourishing others, being nourished by others, making choices. Maybe it's a new profession. There's so many things then go with it, or resting, sleeping different.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
yes.
so, how can people connect with you to learn more about you or to learn how they could work with you together?
They can go to sophiaspeakswisdom.com, and that's Sopheia. So I'm Sophia with an E. So that's the difference in the spelling, but it's still Sophia. So you have to spell it Sopheia, speakswisdom.com. And you can get all the information. You can learn more about me, and you can make an appointment to work with me.
Yeah, you do speak wisdom. It is you're very clear and expressing and bringing through who you are, and I can feel it, or we can feel it just listening to you or seeing you, and it's an unending. It's like you opened up to yourself, and you're helping others to open up to themselves, right? To live
Right.
themselves passionately and
Yeah.
to feel the purpose here, as you said so beautifully,
Right.
Anders.
Right.
So give us what arises for you to say as a last word to someone who is striving to switch something up so can they be the best of themselves.
Well, I would say one of the things that I help people do, and when we first start working together, is to create a plan. And when you create this life plan, you're able to say all the things that you want, all the things that you want to accomplish, and you create that whole journey for yourself. Because I think it's all of who we are is wrapped up in what we want. And we have these wants, but because we don't have the support of the 95% of ourselves to support us in doing so, we just kind of have it as an idea, as a dream, and it doesn't really become our reality because we struggling against, trying to do it, and every time we might try, we end up back in the same place again. And so it's really about creating this plan and then making the choice to do consciously choose to live this plan, and in your consciousness decide all the ways that you will walk out to get to your goal. And so it may mean that you have to do your self-discovery, really learning yourself, and really, growing as an individual, because that's, as human beings, we are always growing.
Yeah.
And so it's an ongoing process. And when you step outside your comfort zone and really decide to follow your heart and really live to your highest potential, then that's the way that you can do it, is by creating this plan and then walking it out for yourself.
Oh, like I really like that, to see the big picture, to dream huge, humongous,
Yes, yes, yes.
right?
Everything that you want. Yeah,
Yeah, and then to say, oh, those are all the little things I have to start turning. So all these lines or webs, like a big
right,
spider web, right?
right.
They start moving you forward. Everything gets tighter then, and suddenly you feel the shift,
Yes.
right? Or
Yeah.
earlier or later, it depends on how many
Yeah.
parts you start. But it's doable, everyone. It is
Yes.
really a doable. I've seen it so often. I've experienced it myself. Sophia has experienced it. Wisdom, but for both of us, is very important. That's what we want to live, and we want to follow our own wisdom, right, and knowledge, and live it, walk it.
Yes.
And whoever is listening today or watching, they have the same desire. You want to really walk your truth, uh, and make an impact on
Yes.
this earth, um, with your beingness. You know, you have a reason why you're here. So feel embraced by me, by Sophia, the whole community that is listening, to move forward.
Yes.
And if you have to stop, that's perfect. If you have to turn around, that's perfect. If you have to go backwards for a little bit, or left and right, that's perfect too. There is
Yes.
really no wrong way. Uh, Keep it going and explore your life and move forward, as our name of the podcast, moving to oneness. So everyone, come to the Facebook group where you do feel supported by others that are also interested in moving into their own oneness, as into the oneness of everything that's existing. Sopheia, thank you for sharing your presence, your love, radiating this out unendingly. It's infinite, and you're really giving it a little bit also of your little touch. There's a funness to your love that I like a lot. And yeah, so
Yeah.
thanks again, and to have a wonderful day. Everyone who's listening and watching, I wish you also a lot of fun exploring yourself and exploring your journey, your adventurous journey, and that you invite others onto your journey. This is Meilin, your host of the Moving to Oneness podcast. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.